in-season speed training? Why is that important? Why does the mindset and the culture need to shift around that? Because I'm talking to coaches all day long, and I still feel like there's a ton of coaches out there who are not fully sold on this idea that speed training is something that needs to be done in season or year round, and the benefits of that aren't that great, right? And that it might even be taking away from their performance in game, right? So I would love to hear from both of you guys on just, how you would explain that importance and why it's something that we should be doing.
Yeah, sure. I'm going to give you two reasons. The first reason is that it's an inoculant against injury. You really only hold on to the effects of speed within, the biochemical system, the neurological system. You only hold on to speed for about 2 to 8 days. And after that time period, you basically become detrained against it. And you need this to inoculate against it. It's kind of the conundrum, right? Coaches forever, when I was a young coach, thought if you run fast, you're going to get hurt. So we're not going to run fast. But then when you went out and ran fast, you had a time of 40 or whatever in football. They used to have the scout day come in and as a junior and you'd time 40s and you'd have 5 guys get hurt. Well, we can't go run fast because guys are going to get hurt. But then what happens when you have to run fast? And so you need this as a stimulus so that you inoculate yourself against injury, because when you call upon it, you need it there. And if you're not training it on a regular basis, and we say every 7 days, we just make it easy, right? It's Vladimir Issurin's residual training effects that he says it's 2 to 8 days or so. But we just say you need to train a high intensity high intent sprint every 7 days, right? So that's the first thing, is to inoculate yourself against the chance of injury. And the second thing is development. What's more important than speed? They don't have barbells on the field, court, whatever it is you're playing. They don't have barbells out there. And so this has to be the priority in your training to me, because it's the difference maker on the field. And oftentimes practices are going to be done in the middle ground. It's going to be, it's going to be short rests and moderate intensity the entire time that you're at practice, because it looks like busy work and it's fatiguing, and we've got to move around all the time, and all these coach speak things. And so you never get that. You never get that in practices. You never get the stimulus to actually develop speed. And so there it goes back to the first thing, is that you're not inoculating yourself against injury as well. But to me, it's got to be inoculate yourself against injury. And then we need to develop it year round. Every week, we need to have that stimulus in there. And so for me, it's development and protect you against some injury.
Got it.
Yeah, I love both of those points. And I think I can build on those points. I'm a science guy, and there's a word called homeostasis, which means we have a balance. And for some people, we may get them faster during the season, but for other people, we may keep them from getting slower. And speed is the tide that lifts all boats. I've argued with so many soccer coaches, lacrosse coaches, even football coaches, that say that max speed sprinting in a straight line does not happen in my sport. And my response is, but do you move in different directions? Do you move, do you sprint in a circular form, or do you have to do things explosively? And they're like, of course. And I say, describe your best player. And they always say fast, explosive. They never talk about endurance. They never say that, oh, she's slow as hell, but she can run all day. No, that doesn't make a great player. It's the fast, explosive movements. So we need to train speed for that. And I often talk about the bulletproofing of your hamstrings by sprinting. We all know that muscles contract, but we don't think about them relaxing. And when we sprint, we must have a contraction in a nanosecond followed by a relaxation in a nanosecond. If that relaxation does not happen, when we stretch a contracted muscle, it will break. And so the only thing that I think truly bulletproofs the hamstrings is to practice that contract, relax cycle at real speed, which means we're running fast. I'll throw in that just because speed is super important, and I think should be the priority in all movement sports, it doesn't have to be the majority of your training. Speed training can be 15 minutes a couple times a week. And then to jump on the health thing, once again, I really believe that a fast team is a healthy team, and a healthy team is a fast team. So the barometer of health, in my opinion, is how fast is that kid. If I have a football team or a baseball team or a soccer team that comes in on Monday and we are 1 to 2 miles an hour slower than normal, we have a health problem. And we need, as coaches, to look ourselves in the mirror and say, what did we do to create this slowness? And if it wasn't us, we need to have that talk with our athletes. You know, what are you doing over the weekend to be so unhealthy on Monday? So I just think it's win-win. I wrote an article 6 years ago saying no football coach in their right mind would time sprints during the season because he knows his team's getting slower. And I'll be damned if they're actually doing that now. They're actually timing people, and they understand. And when you time shit, you learn shit. And they are learning about recovery and rest, and what we did the day before matters today, and all those things.
I love what you said about a fast team is a healthy team. A slow team is, you could, extrapolate from that. A slower team is an unhealthy team, right? So I love the correlation to health. Would you go so far as to say that a team whose speed is decreasing coming into that training session, they're a mile or two slower, is even a pre-indicator to injury? Would you go so far as to say like it's predictive that injury is coming if course doesn't change?
I think so. And I know Zach's going to talk about this, but the reason why they're slow is almost always a volume mistake the day before or the week before, where coaches intentionally burn the steak. I believe it or not, coaches actually use words like, we're going to break them down this week. We're going to put them, they're going to go through some hell this week. Well, when you time your kids that following Monday and they're slow, that's not good. They're unhealthy. So does it predict injury? I think high volumes predict injury, and high volumes also make you slow. So I think that one of those two things will predict that your team is not going to be healthy.